Okay, we're starting from where we stopped in the previous class. And I think we've talked about the name list. So we've talked about how we can print the list. So we will talk more about list today. So as we can see, list items are being indexed. We talked about the indexing in the last class, so that you can access them by referring to the index number. So let's say, for example, we have a list that's got apple, it's got banana, it's got cherry. So you want to print it, you say print this list 1. When you say 1, it's going to print banana because the list is been indexed from 0, 1, 2. So that's the reason it says the first item has index number 0. So I think we already understood this very well. Now let's move on to the next one, negative indexing. I already talked about all of this even before now. So I'm not expecting you to find that difficult because we talked about it before. But I'll go over it again so that we can have a better understanding of it. So the negative indexing is you indexing from the back. So the negative indexing does not have negative 0, because even if you want to use a negative 0, it doesn't work. There's nothing like negative 0. So you're just going to pick the number 0 from the index. So it's going to give you index number 0. So, and that's the reason why you could see it says print this list negative 1. So the negative 1 is going to print for you the last item in the list, which is the cherry. So it's not going to print anything after that. So this is how we do the negative indexing. So let's move on to the next one, which is I already done this for you, and I think you should understand the concept. So let's move on to the next one. Next slide. So now we want to talk about ranges. I also did the example of this for you. We can also give a range to what we want to index. Now, let's say, for example, you can specify a range of indexing by specifying where to start and where to end the range. So when specifying a range, the return value will be a new list with the specified items. Now, let's say, for example, you want to return the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th item. So the 3rd item is 0, 1, 2. This is the 3rd item. And this is the 4th item, and this is the 5th item. So you would say print this list. You say print this list. That's the name of the list. You say open a angle bracket and put 2:5. So the meaning of this is you're saying, I want you to print this list, but I want you to start printing from 2 and end in 5. So what it's going to do is it's going to start from 2 and it's going to go to 3 and it's going to go to 4 and it's going to leave 5. It's not going to print, it stops at 4. Because when you tell it to end at 5, the meaning is it's not going to include a 5. So this is how we usually do range indexing. So let's say, for example, you say print this list. If you say print this list, you open an angle bracket, you say print 4.6. So I want someone to tell me what is it going to print on the console. What will be printed on the console?
I'm going to print orange, kiwi, melon.
Say it again.
Orange. I think orange and melon, or with quiz.
I know. I want you to be very specific. You're saying print from 4 and end on 6. And this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's gonna print kiwi, which is 4, melon, which is 5. This is the only 2 it's gonna print.
No.
So you mean it's not gonna print that?
Orange is 4.
How?
It said included. That means 4 is also included.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 4 is included, is gonna start printing from 4. And which is index number 4? That's the question I'm asking you. Index number 4 is because the indexing starts from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So always remember that the indexing start from number 0, and it's gonna be included, which is the kiwi, and it's gonna include the 5, but it's not going to include the 6. Is understood? Okay, let me ask another one. Print. Mute your mic, please. Print this list. 3. So print this list 3 and 5. So what is it gonna print on the console? Dr. Shuaib, what would it print on the console?
Orange, yellow.
It's gonna print 0, 1, 2, 3. Orange and what?
Melon.
Orange what?
Orange melon.
Why is it printing melon? Some of you did not actually get it properly. When you say print 3, column 5, mute this mic, please. It's going to print 3
to 5.
It's going to print 3, 4, and it's going to exclude the 5. Okay, mute your mic, please. So I want you to all understand this concept very well. It might look pretty easy, and that is exactly what I was saying to you, that sometimes it look easy, but it's not easy. So you have to pay attention and understand this very well. So if you could still remember.
Hello, sir, before we go ahead, sorry to cut you short, sir.
No problem.
You mentioned earlier that when we try to print -0, that it doesn't present any data.
Yeah.
But I think I tried it here now. Can we when we go to the console, can we try it there so that we can have
Yeah,
practical...
if you put -0, it's gonna print a 0. It's gonna print.
Okay.
It's gonna print what you have on index 0, which is Apple.
Apple. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
because there is no -0, it's gonna see it as +0.
Okay.
All right. So yeah. So now let's. I want you to get this point very clear. So let me repeat myself again. When you say print 2, it's a print 2 colon 5. The meaning is you're saying I want you to print starting from the index number 2, which is this. Which is this, and I want you to print from that 2 onto 5. Mute your mic, everybody, please. Mute your mic. Mute your mic. So it's gonna print for you index number 2, index number 3, index number 4, and it's gonna leave index number 5. So it stops at index number 5. It is not printing. So this is how it works. So we can go to the Google Colab and practice it and see what we're talking about. later on. Let's move on to the next slide before we go to Google Colab. Now, by leaving out the start value, the range will start at the first item. Example, this example returns the item from the beginning to, but not including Kiwi. So what is trying to say here, let's say, for example, when you say 2, colon 4, is going to print, it's going to count 0, 1, 2. It's going to start printing from Sherry, Orange. This is 2, this is 3, and it's going to print only this 2 for you. It's not going to print Kiwi. But when you remove this 2 and you leave only colon 4, what does it see? It sees that you should start from the beginning and count to column number 4. So it's going to print apple, banana, cherry, orange, and it's going to stop at kiwi. So this is what we call what we leave the colon open. So the same way, if you leave the end open, so the range will go to the end of the list. So it's going to start from the colon 2. This is not the same as this. This is going to leave the number 4 out, but this is going to start from the number 2. So it's going to count 0, 1, 2. It's going to start from here and print to the end of it. So I would go to Google Colab now so that we can have a direct look at what I'm talking about. So this is Google Colab, and so this is Google Colab, and now we can do what we're talking about. Now the first one we talked about is we talked about the having so we talked about having let's say we have a list. Let's run this list for. So then let's bring the list for down here. So it's a list for. So it's a print list for. So then you run it. So it's gonna print. Oh, sorry. We don't want that. We want a list that's got only list 2. Let's print list 2. It's a print list 2. So now this is list 2. So in this list, we have orange, banana, carrot. So you can easily know if it's very long list. You can know how many things you have in the list by using the print length. Print length. List 2. So we can use this to know the length of the list. It said it's 6. So that is to say you start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when it says it's 6, the meaning is the what is going to be 5 items counting from index 0. So now we want to print list 2. We want to print list 2. Print list 2. But I want you to only print for me 2 to 5. So when you run this, it prints 0, 1, it prints from carrots. Then it prints 2, 3, 4. It leaves 5. It does not print it. So this is exactly what we're saying. So what about when you say print list 2 and you put colon, you say colon 4. So you did not put anything before it. So when you run this, it's gonna print right from the beginning till it gets to index number 4. So it prints 0, 1, 2, 3, but it doesn't print the 4. So this is what I'm saying. It start printing from the beginning because you did not specify where it should start from. So that is the reason it continues to print from the beginning till it gets to index number 4. So then afterwards, we want to say, what if you swap it? Let's say, for example, let's say you have list 2, and you decide to pull the 2. Sorry. You decide to put the 4 here and pull this at the end of it. So when you run this, it's going to start printing from 4 and it's going to print to the end. So when it's 4, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you print from 4 to the end of the list. So this is how we can actually use this colon when you leave it open. So, and let's talk about the ranges, the negative ranges. Let's say we have a range and it's a -1. So we can specify a negative index if you want to start the search from the end of the list. For example, if you want to start the search from the end of the list, you will say print. You will say print list 2, then -1, -3. So what would it print for you? Dr. Nuruddin, what would it print for you? If I say print list 2, -3. What would it print? Print list 2, -3. This is the list 2. So what would it print for you? Is Dr.
It will
Nuruddin?
print from carrot. It will print carrot, grape.
Now we're talking about negative.
Negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grape.
It will print from banana, apple. Banana, apple.
Why and how do you feel it's gonna print that? How?
It will print from the end.
So if it prints from the end, so how did you say banana apple? It says print -3.
Oh. Okay, -3. That means we start from carrot.
What is it gonna print? What fruit is having an index of -3? Any other
print carrot, banana, and orange.
Not really. It only prints multiple things if I give it a range. But now I'm not talking about range, Doctor. I'm talking about the negative index. So what I'm talking about now is a negative index. So I'm having negative index of -3. So it's going to count from -1, -2, and -3, and it's going to print for me grape. Do you see that? If I change this to -1, for example, what would it print? It's going to print for me banana. If I change it to -2, it's going to print for me what? Apple. If I change it to -4, what would it print for me?
Carrot.
Carrot. So we can also use a negative indexing. If I use a -6, what would it print for me?
Orange.
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 So this is what we call negative indexing. So we can use a negative index. We can also use a negative range. Now let's use a negative range now. Now I want to print a negative range between -6, right, to the end. I want to print -6 to the end. Now let's run it. It's gonna print everything.
Zero.
No.
Everything, sorry.
Yeah, because it's starting from -6, and I did not close it. I opened the colon. It's gonna print. It's gonna start from -6, and it's gonna print to the end of the colon, and then of the list. But if I put, for example, negative, let me put -3 here. It's gonna stop at -3. It's gonna print -6, -5, -4, -3. So it's gonna stop at -3. So it's not gonna print orange, banana, and carrot, and it's gonna leave this out. Do you understand what I'm saying now?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, do we understand it?
Yeah. Yes, when it is positive, are we going to count the orange and banana as index 1? And the
Yeah,
carrot is 2, grape 3,
when it's
four,
positive index, we'll
banana
count
5.
orange as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when it's negative index, we don't count 0. It does not know 0. It starts from -1. Is that understood? So when it's a negative indexing, it starts from -1. It doesn't have
Sir,
negative
my
0.
network is unstable. Can you come
Yeah.
again, sir?
When we are using a
And
negative index, can you listen to that?
yes, I'm not listening, sir.
When we have a negative index, we do not start counting from 0 because there's nothing like -0. So even if you use a -0, it's going to print for you 0 value, not -0. So there's nothing like -0. So this is why whenever you want to print a negative index, it starts from 1, -1. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. But positive, we start from the 1.
Yeah, if you're using a positive index, it starts from 0. You have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you're using a negative index, it starts from -1, -2, -3. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's move on to the next one.
Sir,
Yeah.
I have a question, sir.
Go ahead, please.
So when we are using this positive indexing, assuming we want to print from, maybe we want to just consider only the even index, like 1, let's say from 2, 4, and 6. Please, how do we achieve that, sir? So,
Or you want to select, you don't want to select from 1. So you want to select some specific indexes, right?
yes, sir.
Okay, don't worry, we're going to get there. All right.
Sir.
So if you want to select some specific indexes, so how do you do that? Now you should have, if I were you, I would not wait till the class before I ask the question. I would try myself. You understand? I would
Okay,
try, and this is something about programming, you try yourself. Now,
Okay.
what can you do? What about if you try to put 4, you try to put 3, and try to put 1? Did you try to do something like this? If you run it, it's going to give an error. And now read the error for me. It said list indices must be integers or slices, not tuple. So it says, well, it says list indices must be integers. It must be numbers or slices. You can never have it as tuple. So what does that mean? The meaning is whenever you want to have a list, you want to have you want to have the indices of a list. You can never have it in tuple. You can never have it like 4, never. It's not going to work. So it's going to only work for you If you have one number at a time, you run it, or you have a what? You have a range. Or you have a what? You have a range. Do you see? So it's not going to work for you if you have a what? If you have a tuple where you have a comma. That's what we call a tuple. So this is another. That's a very good question, which you asked. So I usually like it when students try to, when you think about something, try to do that to yourself. And this is the reason why.
Actually, I tried even to put an index to all the indexes I wanted to call.
Oh, you said what? How do you mean?
Like what I tried was that I had 4 in the
Okay.
the square bracket, then put a comma, put a 2 in a separate bracket,
Yeah.
then put a 3 in a separate
Now
bracket.
you're
I tried it like that, but what it printed, it
Now
only
you're talking
considered the first. Yeah,
Now you're talking about
it only
something
took
else.
the first index. Yes.
Now, why that was where I was actually adding to before you said something. If you want to print something which is different, you put, for example, 4, then you put another index, and you put like 2. Now, are you actually printing the things you had in the index? No. So it's not gonna say the comma, anything after the comma is not referred to as indexing anymore. You understand what I'm saying? Anything after the comma you have is not referred to indexing. But let's try something. Let's put away comma and run it like this. So what do you have? You've got only P. So it's not gonna work for you. So this is why anytime you think about something, try what to think about. So what do you see here? What do you think will happen here? So what happened here where you had the P, you printed what? Apple, isn't it? Then it went into the apple and took the second index of the apple. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it went into the apple and it picked the what? It picked the second when you say 3, the second index. The third index, okay? So the third index of the apple will be P. That's why you have, 0, 1, 2, 3, 3. So the second index will be P, and the third index will be what? Will be L. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or is it confusing? Is it confusing? Let me say it again.
No, I understand it actually.
So let me explain to everyone again. Don't let me double too much so that we don't get confused. Let's leave it this way. So the summary is we cannot print different numbers out of it. We can only print from one range to another range, and we can also print we cannot print any additional way. So this is something we need to know. So, and let's know that we can also check if an item exists in the list. So every data type has a specific thing we can do, and that's why we have different data types. If one doesn't work for one, we use another data type for it. What you're asking me to do now is going to work with another data type later on when we get there. But just relax, all right? Don't let's get confused with too many things. Now, let's say, for example, you want to check if an item exists in the list. Let's say, for example, you have a long list and someone is asking you, check if we have carrot in the list. So what would you do? So if you want to check, let's start. Checking if an item exists in the list. If an item exists What do I mean by this? Sometimes some items are in the list and you don't know, you want to check it out. So this is what I mean by checking if an item exists in the list. So how do you know if an item exists in the list? So this is how you do it. You will type the name of the list, and you already have it. Yeah, you put a condition. If Apple in list, print yes, Apple is in the food list. Okay, now we're getting, it's getting complex, isn't it? So I want you to pay attention very well here. So now we're going to add on to conditional, but we don't want to talk about conditional statement now, but we're almost getting there. So I would go back to the Colab to show you what I'm trying to say. Now, I think you can see my screen, right? So now, what are we going to say? What we're going to do? We will say we want to check if an item is in the list. So let's print the list again. Let's say list 2. Print list 2. So if you print on list 2 now, it's going to give you the full list. We got orange, banana, carrot, grape, apple, and all this stuff. So now you want to check if there's an item in the list. So what would you do? You say if. You say if. If is a keyword, is a conditional statement. If is a what? Is a conditional. It's a conditional statement. The conditional statement means that if something is existing, then do something. So if it does not exist, then don't do anything. So it's a conditional statement. What do we call conditional? We call that shart. So we call that condition shart. We say if something is like this, you should do like this. If something is not like that, don't worry about it. So I will show you now. I will print something that if orange, are you with me? In list,
Yes.
if orange in list, all right, then you put a colon. Then if orange in list, you put a colon. That is the same block of code. This is the meaning of the colon or the indentation. So when you get indentation, it's still the same continuation of the code. If orange in list, sorry, in list 2. If orange in list 2, then what should happen? Then print what? Print yes. Print yes. Orange. Print yes. Print yes. Orange. Orange is in the list, is in list 2. All right. So now we would have a problem. Okay, tell me what the problem is going to be. Let's run it and see. So we have a problem. Why? Because we need to put into quotation whatever we want to print. But because we already have one quotation here, we're going to have double quotation in the other one. So now I think it's fine. Let's run it again. So now I said, yes, orange is in list 2. Can you imagine? So it would run through your list and it's going to find if orange is there and it's going to tell you orange is in list 2. That is. Now, what about if there's no orange in it? What about if there's... Okay, I'll come again. So I'm trying to check a list, because if you can have a list of 1 million things and you want to check if there is something in the list. You want to check if there is something in the list. So how do you check if there's something in the list? So the way to check if you have something in the list is for you to use a conditional statement. So the conditional statement goes like, if there is a conditional word, if is a conditional word. If orange in list 2, that is to say, if orange is in list 2, this is just like English. This is why Python is so It's an interesting programming. It's like you speaking English. So if orange in list 2, then colon, print, yes, orange is in list 2. So then when you run it, it prints, yes, orange is in list 2. We had a problem before because we did not put quotation in the print. Anytime you want to print something which is not defined before, we have to put into quotation. We put orange into quotation. Why? Because we didn't want it to just print orange, like any orange. We wanted to have quotation for the orange. So that's why we have it. So what about if there is no orange in the list? What do you want it to do? So let's say, for example, we don't have
And say else print no.
Yeah, it's not going to print that because orange is in the list. Now let's look for something which is not in the list. So let's say if mango, if mango in list 2, if mango in list 2, colon, print what? Print yes. Print yes. Print yes. Mango is in list 2. Do you see that? So then I will put another condition. So I'll put another condition. Else, that is to say, if we don't have a mango in the list, what should it print? Print what? Print no. No.
Mango in not the list.
So mango is not in the list. Mango is not in the list. So there's no need to write list 2. It's a list class. So now do you see? So we're going to a conditional statement now. So we say if mango in list, print yes, mango is in list. Else, that is to say, there's no mango in the list, print no, mango is not in the list. Now let's run it. It says no, mango is not in the list. So I would try to stop here so that we don't get confused. I need to explain a lot of things here for you, but honestly, it's a lot of information. So, but the point is, Python will run through this list first. If it sees mango, it will say, yes, mango is in the list. But if it doesn't see mango in the list, it will say, no, mango is not in the list. I will do something now. I will add mango to the list. Let me update the list, okay? Where's list 2? I will update it now. Where is the list 2? Okay, let me just update it naturally. Let me just copy this list. Then I would I'll put it here. And I will say list 2 equals 2. All right. Now I've updated list 2. So I'll run this now. Yes, already is in the list. And I will run this, which is a no, mango is not in the list. Now let's run it. Did I update? No, sorry, I did not update it. I didn't pull mango. Mango. So now we'll run it again. So now I will run it. Yes, mango is in the list. So it's going to see the list. That list is updated with the mango. So now mango is in the list. So we'll be stopping here because of time. So we would give some time. The remaining time will be for questions, hopefully.